We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence. We've already tried that, and we've ended up with the largest prison population in the world without solving the problems of crime and violence. The addiction on jails and incarceration in this country, we have moved past that. It is racist, it is immoral, it is unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down.
This surge in Memphis has dramatically dropped crime. The numbers tell the story themselves. They are undeniable. The last 56 days that we have had this surge compared to the same 56-day time period a year ago shows murder is down 48% in just 56 days, sexual assault down 49%, robbery down 61%, overall serious crime down 45% here in Memphis. We are reversing the trend. Since President Trump ordered federal law enforcement officers to search Memphis, 121 children have been located and returned to safety. Those are 121 children who were reported missing and endangered. They have been recovered. More than 3,100 arrests have been made, including 327 known gang members, 501 firearms seized off the streets of Memphis. We have filed federal charges against approximately 150 people. Michael, is that right? 100, as of today, 157 federal charges have been filed.
All right, family. So boom. So we really got to talk about this whole Memphis crackdown situation. Cause this one right here, this got both sides heated. On one hand, you got folks saying we can't arrest our way out of crime. As you heard, Mayor Brandon Johnson, or Mayor Dumbhead. He's the worst mayor in American history. But on the other hand, the numbers, as you heard Attorney General Pam Bondi say, looking real undeniable. Crime down almost half across the board in just 56 days. We talking murder down 48%, sexual assault down 49%, robbery down 61%, serious crime overall down 45%. Like, bruh, these ain't little changes. This is a whole shift in energy, and people mad. But let me ask y'all something. If your neighborhood went from shootouts every week to kids actually being able to play outside again, would you be mad at how it happened or grateful for the peace? Because folks out here crying about the how, not the what. They saying it's racist, immoral, unjust. But listen, what's more immoral? Arresting crimes or letting folks get shot up every day with no solution? And before somebody hop in the comments talking about, but they only arresting black people. Bro, let's keep it all the way 100. Memphis is a black city. But I want you guys to check out this next clip in regards to the matter.
You want to know what happens when rich, white, affluent men decide what a city needs to feel more safe? Ironically, they break the law. Yeah, Tennessee court just ruled that Governor Bill Lee acted outside of his scope of authority by letting President Trump send the National Guard to Memphis. Sounds like he should be arrested for committing a crime. If Bill Lee was a poor black man, his ass would be in jail by now. Trust me. The only reason he's not is because he's a rich, affluent white man in power. And that's just how America works. But in all seriousness, I worked in the court system. I still do. But as a public defender for 2 years, meaning I was in the courtroom every day handling cases for arrests that were just made the day or 2 days prior. So I got to see the reality of Memphis, which is that the police here are only policing poor people, black people, and people with mental health illnesses that don't have enough support to keep them essentially contained and inside. And see, what these dummies did not realize is you cannot send hundreds and hundreds of police officers to a city without also sending defense attorneys, prosecutors, jail staff, judges, courtroom clerks, commissioners, because the system cannot support the influx. And as a result of Bill Lee and President Trump sending the National Guard to Tennessee, presumably innocent people are dying at a higher rate in our jail. Recently, 3 people died in our jail within 9 days. But don't worry, guys, they've got it.
So check me out. I had to wake up early this morning to go down to 201 and Poplar for a matter involving somebody else. That 201 and Poplar is the jail we have here in Memphis, if you didn't know. But yeah, so I get there and I'm noticing it's crowded as fuck. Crowded as shit, like overly crowded, and I can barely find a place to park. And I finally found a place to park, thank God. And I get out, walk to the building, and I shit you not, line to get inside the building, going down the fucking street. And 97% of that line was black people. And I thought to myself, this is some sad ass shit right here. Because I know for a fact black people are not the only people in Memphis that's committing crimes. And the first thing I thought about is my run-in with the Memphis Task Force. They treated me like absolute fucking garbage. They treated me like shit. They treated me like they just knew I was a criminal. Because I had got pulled over, I think for a taillight or some shit like that. Don't quote me on that. I forget what it was. Can't think of it right now. But yes, they treated me like absolute garbage because when their supervisor arrived, he was talking about the Memphis Task Force and what they were told to do. So I can guarantee you they were told to treat everybody they come in contact with like a fucking criminal, and that's what they're doing. They're profiling black and brown people because of stereotypes and shit like that, and it's causing a lot of black people to have to come to 201 and Poplar early in the fucking morning when they could be at work, they could be, spending time with their fucking families for absolute bullshit. Because another lady walked up to the line when I was already in it, and she was like, look at all these damn black people in this line. This is sad as shit. Ain't nothing but black people in this line. I was like, yeah, it's nothing but black people in this fucking line. And I know black people are not the only people that could potentially or are doing crime in Memphis. We are not. I'm 30 years old. I've never committed a crime. I'm 30 years old. And I've never been robbed. I've never been shot.
All right, family. Like I was saying, because I don't want to entertain the divisive rhetoric, but it's just common sense here, right? Like I say, but they only arresting black people, they like to say, as you guys seen in these clips. But like I said, Memphis is a black city. Like, what you think the police gonna bring? What you think the police gonna be doing in a black majority city with the highest per capita crime rates? Yeah, of course, most of the people getting arrested gonna be black. Not because they black, but because that's who's present when a crime is happening. That's just geography and math, not racism. Now, am I saying racism don't exist in the system? Of course not. But we got to stop pretending like blackness equals innocence and enforcement equals oppression automatically. We got to kill the oppression mindset if we want to make the system better, right? We got to hold individuals accountable when they're wrong and not run into the Victim Olympics and playing the black card when it's convenient, because that's just as worse as the system they like to blame, right? That's coming after black people. So when it's convenient, they just are, according to what these individuals are saying in these clips, when it's convenient, they arrest black people because they want to be treating black people like animals. So when all else fails, arrest the black people. Okay, well, what about the black people? When all else fails, let's just say, oh, it's racism and oppression. Both individuals are flawed if you look at it, right? From both approaches. So where's the accountability from either side of the room? From the policing standpoint, from law enforcement, and the Victim Olympics racism black card standpoint. So that's why I said we got to stop acting like blackness equals innocence and enforcement equals oppression. If you cleaning up a city and most of the city black, yeah, most of the rest going to look like that. But that don't mean the cleanup ain't needed either. And the people crying the loudest be the same ones who ain't got no plan. So y'all here screaming abolish the police, defund the system, and mass incorporation. But what are you doing when your cousin gets robbed or your grandma scared to sit on the porch? You ain't calling no community organizations. You calling 911. And they say, but the system ain't built to handle these many arrests. Okay, that could be a valid point. But that's not a reason to stop enforcing the law. That's a reason to scale the system. More district attorneys, more public offenders, more judges, more infrastructure. You can't just say we overwhelmed and let criminals rock. That's like saying you got too many leaks in your house, so you just gonna let the water run. Nah, you fix the damn pipes. And real talk, I love how the Trump administration came through with the National Guard, heavy task force, no games, because low key, they ain't have to. Memphis ain't a Republican stronghold. This ain't about politics. They could have said, forget Memphis, let them handle their own mess. But they stepped in, and guess what? The streets are safer. Missing kids are being found. Illegal guns are off the street. But instead of people saying, thank God, they protesting less crime. That's what we on now. So imagine being outside picketing like, hey, we want more shootings. Bro, it just don't make no sense. No sense whatsoever. So I got this next clip I want to show you guys. I want you guys to check it out.
Excited about this. What are you expecting to hear? What do you think Memphis needs to hear?
I think Memphis needs to hear what we have been hearing in bits and pieces all along. And what we know from our own observance is that the streets are safer. The crime is down. And the task force, I just texted you, I don't know if you got it yet, but I texted you a Facebook post from the Tennessee National Guard, which outlined how several National Guardsmen helped out and provided life preserving assistance for some victims of a bad car wreck on I-40. So there is really no downside, Alex, to the Guard being here or to the task force being here. And I think that probably critics are mostly just criticizing for the sake of criticizing.
So with that in mind, as you well know, lawsuits have been filed, especially with Mayor Lee Harris, the county mayor, as well as others who are still opposed to the National Guard being here. Do you see any validity in that suit, or do you think that's just a waste of time here?
Well, in terms of validity, anybody can always sue for any reason. My concern is that the taxpayers are paying for the lawsuits, Alex. every time you hear about a lawsuit like this, if
Exactly. He said, my concern is that the taxpayers are paying for these lawsuits. Guess what? You are, buddy. So every time you elect an ignorant politician that want to play political games instead of worrying about the safety of their constituents, that's what you're going to get. Games being played, because the only individuals that are against this, the only individuals that are against the National Guard coming in to help an overwhelmed police force in your city with crime running rampant. And the simple fact is police are actually fleeing, and they're not able to hire law enforcement in droves in Memphis because things are so out of whack and can't be contained because the crime ran so rampant that the cause, they can't even get to the situation rapidly to enforce the law and also ensure the safety. And police are like, I don't want to deal with this mess no more. It's so much going on. We only contain so much. We're working around the clock, and it's just not enough of us to contain these crimes. What I'm gonna keep putting my life on the line as a public servant for, I'm gonna go elsewhere. When you got National Guard helping that to contain the crime, but also bring the crime down so it can be contained. And then from the get-go, now you have a fresh start to be able to enforce the right way and also encourage more individuals to sign up to want to be part of the law enforcement in Memphis, because now it's attainable. It's nothing like being able to contain and have structure when it comes to law enforcement, because once it gets things get overwhelmed, structure is being challenged to be upheld. You can't uphold structure as much if the foundation of not having enough police officers and you don't know which direction to go to, let alone know where to turn, because your local politicians, because that's why local elections matter, your governor and your mayor, more than a national election. A general election matters, like your president, but also your state where you live at, your local elections matters just as much, but even 10 times more, because they are the ones lobbying to the president and should be working with the president as they are in sync for the best interest of you, the taxpayer in that state, as you are as you are a constituent, let alone citizen in that state, right? So why would your mayor be against this in Memphis? Because, and I'm gonna tell you, they use crime as a way to say, "Oh, we need more nonprofit organizations to help um to help redirect the crime. We need more community outreach leaders. We need more social workers." Well, social workers and community outreach leaders and programs to give opportunities. Look, a criminal, all they looking for is to wreak havoc, and it only takes one time for them to wreak havoc in your community. You think a social worker or a community outreach leader, a part of a nonprofit organization, is going to stop a bullet from flying? I don't think so. So now they're basically using a buddy of a buddy. Oh, hey, my friend, fund this profit program so we can look like we're giving back to our constituents. So they can funnel money using federal monies that the mayor may propose or may propose to the governor of that state, and then the governor actually proposes it to the president or the federal government. They get those funds, then it trickles down from the governor, which controls the money in that state. Then it gets handed to the mayor, and the mayor can say, "Here you go, my friend of this nonprofit. Now that I cut you a deal, I need some money on the back end, such as kickbacks, because I looked you out to funnel your nonprofit business by getting on federal monies, but I want some of that money too." So it's a way to do things illegally because you are pocketing money for your own self enrichment, but trying to use the legal route, making it like it's for a good cause, but it's not, because it's only for your selfish motives. So you don't really care about your constituents in Memphis. So I say all that to say that the mayor fighting against this, that don't want the National Guard to help their overwhelmed police and make the streets safer, is because in making these lawsuits to fight Donald Trump in court, wasting taxpayer money because it's not going to get nowhere, they are basically using chaos to profit, because they act like they're giving you a solution to a simple problem when you have the help, but you don't want the National Guard to help. You don't want that type of help, but you just want more money, as if throwing money at the problem is going to help. If it didn't help this far, but National Guard came in and actually helped you in regards of handling the situation, why aren't you happy? Because it's not about the actual Memphis citizens. It's about the local politician enriching themselves for their own self gain, which is wanting money for themselves and enriching themselves on the back of taxpayers. It's just a legal way of it's like a legal way mask. It's like a criminal operating and just funneling money around in a legal manner until they get caught, because illegally, when you audit these nonprofits, you really see where the money is going at. It's really not going to the constituents, and the constituents in a bit isn't benefiting the way they made it as if it is, as if the Memphis people are benefiting from it. Because if Memphis people was benefiting from this nonprofit, like I said, you wouldn't need the National Guard. So it's basically stealing money, a politician playing political theater games in a way to steal money and make it show as if it's for a good cause of why they need the money, but it's not really a good cause, because at the end of the day, the illegal thing they don't tell you behind all that masquerade of making it like, yeah, we're going to help Memphis individuals with the nonprofits, is they're going to take the money. And none of these Memphis citizens will ever see it or even see the return on investment for these nonprofits that they claim help so much.
The school board is suing the county commission, or the county commission is suing some other governmental entity, or somebody is suing the governor. The taxpayers, we are left holding the bag. And I would just hope that those who are filing these lawsuits would sort of slow down for a second. Let's not enrich lawyers. Let's enrich our atmosphere so that our children can be properly educated and we can provide as much safety as possible in the streets of Memphis. I'm very excited about that.
Task force is needed here one way or the other.
I think the citizens of Memphis want to hear that the task force, no matter who the task force is comprised of, is going to be here as long as possible. And I'm hoping to hear from AG Bondi that they don't plan to leave anytime soon, Alex. There is no downside to the steep drop in violent crime that we're experiencing in Memphis. There's no downside to a decrease in crime. And again, Alex, I don't think most Memphians are opposed to either the task force or the National Guard. I think a few people are opposed, and some in elected office who have other perhaps motives in being so public.
Right there, other perhaps motives. Listen to what he just said. We're going to break it down.
Are opposed, and some in elected office who have other perhaps motives.
Meaning to enrich themselves, like I said, instead of caring about the people in Memphis in which they were basically elected for as a public servant, but they want to get rich off the back of chaos while the people suffer that they're supposed to be fighting for.
In being so publicly critical. But again, I don't think the majority of citizens of Memphis are opposed.
And one last thing very quickly here. So, Dr. Whalum, you don't have a problem, obviously, with the task force being here maybe another month from now, maybe 6 months from now, maybe even a year from now?
I am hoping, again, as long as possible. If that's a year, that's great. Maybe we can even be talking about this in November around Thanksgiving of next year. But again, I'll repeat the caveat that I have stated on your show before. We must, and as I told you earlier, there is a positive sign in this direction. We must collaborate now to make sure that our situation, our education, and our economy is on an upward trajectory. If we don't do that, before the task force leaves, we're going to be in a worse position than before. But I repeat, there is hopeful news from Mayor Young and from leaders at the chamber that we are finally beginning to take steps in the direction of meaningful collaboration.
Shout out to him, man. And that's a man with some damn sense. Because I don't know what this world is coming to. But now, when you look at all what was just said, right? Look, nobody wants to see people locked up. I get it. Nobody wants mass incarceration. But let's not fake it here. We all want safe neighborhoods. You want businesses to come in? You want job opportunities? You want the city to grow? Cool, but you can't build it in a war zone. Ain't no Starbucks setting up next to a trap house. I'm going to tell you right now. And ain't no tech firm investing in the area where people are scared to go outside. Safety is the foundation of progress.
First at 5 on your news leader, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi returns to Memphis with state leaders to talk about the progress being made by the Memphis Safe Task Force. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Hurst.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Skurlock. The task force briefing wrapped up a short time ago at the Office of Preparedness out at Shelby Farms. WREG's Mike Suriani is there and has a recap of what was said. Mike?
Hey, good afternoon to you, Stephanie and Greg. Let me tell you that just a few minutes ago, before or as the event was breaking up inside, there was a large group of protesters outside here in front of the Office of Emergency Preparedness in East Memphis. The group actually approached the front door of the building, and at that time there was a large number of police vehicles showed up, flashing blue lights, sirens, and the crowd, still very loud, expressing their protest, moved on and dispersed into the area here. Now, the motorcade has left with the Attorney General, who informed us that she and some of the other dignitaries are going to be heading over to serve Thanksgiving dinner to some of the members of the many agencies that are involved here. Attorney General Bondi expressing her commitment to this effort, her thanks to President Trump and to all of those involved. The director of HUD talking about a HUD hotline that is going to be made available to help persons in low-income housing develop a.
They're all amazing opportunities, and individuals don't want safe neighborhoods. And the individuals, I believe these are paid protesters, but you got to be out your mind to not want what's best for you. But then sometimes, Donald Trump can only do so much. That's why it comes down to your local legislators. But it seems like everybody on Memphis isn't bored. The progress seems to be phenomenal. And the ones that are just ignorant, we just got to let them just, we just got to quiet them out and basically outshine them and let Memphis continue to do what they do. Because at the end of the day, it's like you're protesting for more crimes. Like, you got to be out your mind. And that's not, you can't have prosperity without law and order, period. And what kills me is that even the guy, the pastor from Memphis, he gets it, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, the streets are finally calm. Kids can go to school. People could breathe again. And it's like, bro, like, what is your deal, right? Because that was who was on the news in the last clip I showed you. The guy that was speaking in the car, to the news channel. He was a pastor, I believe. And at the end of the day, look, there's no downside to crime going down. You heard that pastor say it. Bro, how is that controversial? That should be common sense. There should be no protesters about the streets being safe. And this just shows how far we come, where some people are just so wild, or I should say wild in the head, like, or so misconstrued, because these Democrats spew this rhetoric. Trump's a dictator, and they really take that stuff in from a liberal mindset, extreme. And it's almost like a mindset to want to collaborate with causing havoc. And I don't know, man, maybe some of these people just didn't get enough tension growing up or something. But let me know what you guys think, because it's wild to me that you will be protesting with Attorney General Pam Bondi and the director, the guy who, with HUD and a HUD hotline being created, and the guy Trump assigned to oversee HUD, showing opportunities, making the hood safer. Because you can't build infrastructure if it's just going to be touring right back down because of a war zone with crime running rampant. We got to deal with crime first for many other opportunities to come along, for things to be maintained, right? Because if affordable housing gets there, who's to say somebody ain't going to tear it down because crime is running rampant? There was no point of the return on investment to benefit individuals in Memphis in the first place if it's not going to be able to uphold or be upheld or be protected. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. This is just common sense. Spread that peace, love, and positivity. As always, we just having a conversation. Peace.